Welcome back, history buffs. Today we are diving into an absolutely epic historical explainer. We're embarking on a phenomenal, fast-paced journey through time to look at a man whose very name is literally synonymous with ultimate conquest. We're talking about a figure whose brilliance, strategy, and just sheer undeniable willpower reshaped the entire ancient world in what feels like the blink of an eye. 12. Just 12. That is the defining number of our story today. Why? Well, because at just 12 years old, this kid managed to tame a terrifying, completely untamable wild beast. And then, later, in just 12 short years of absolute rule, he managed to conquer half of the known world. It's a breakneck pace of history, and we're going to unpack exactly how he pulled it off right now. Section 1. The spark of greatness, courage, and intellect. So before you can conquer the world, you need the spirit to hold it, right? Alexander's unparalleled power didn't just come from swinging a heavy sword. It came from a very unique, incredibly rare combination of extreme, almost reckless courage paired with this profound, calculated intellect. Let me set the scene for you. Picture this. A massive, terrifying wild horse is brought into the royal court. Elite riders, the absolute best of the best, trying to mount it, and they are violently thrown off. Enter 12-year-old Alexander. He watches closely and realizes, wait a minute, the beast isn't just angry, it's terrified of its own shadow. So he gently turns the horse's face toward the sun, hiding the shadow, calms the animal down, and leaps right onto its back. The royal court just falls into stunned silence. His father, King Philip, looks at him in total awe and says, "My son, Macedonia is simply too small for you. You will conquer the whole world." Not exactly your average middle school achievement for sure. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that Alexander wasn't just shaped by the battlefield. At age 13, his father handed him over to literally the greatest philosophical mind of the age, Aristotle. For the next 3 years, Aristotle expanded this young boy's mind way, way beyond mere swords play. He taught him logic, medicine, science, and the complex art of ruling. He told him, the world is just a map, and you are the hand that will draw on it. You can change the lines of the earth if you make your mind a weapon. That wasn't just a lesson, folks. That was a spark that ignited a global fire. Moving on to Section 2, Ascending the Throne, a Volatile Kingdom. Youth never lasts long in the ancient world. In a sudden, chaotic flash, King Philip is assassinated in cold blood. Just like that, in an instant, a 20-year-old Alexander's education ends, and he inherits a deeply volatile and completely rebellious kingdom. Now, the murder itself, it's a massive historical mystery. Was it a personal vendetta against King Philip? Or, was it a dark plot orchestrated by Alexander's own mother, Olympias, trying to secure the throne for her son because Philip had just taken a new wife? Whatever the ultimate truth was, this 20-year-old was thrust into extreme, immediate danger with enemies rising up on all sides. Everyone, and I mean everyone, thought this young boy would fail. But look at how energetically and ruthlessly he responded. He totally shocked the ancient world. First, he instantly crushed all internal conspiracies. Gone. Then, when the Greek states thought, hey, we can use this moment of transition to rebel, he subdued them immediately. And to ensure absolutely no one ever questioned his authority again, he destroyed the rebellious city of Thebes. He completely wiped it off the map as a brutal, terrifying warning. Total loyalty was literally his only acceptable option. It's a harsh lesson in absolute power, but sometimes you have to show terrifying strength just to keep the room quiet. Which brings us to Section 3, Conquering the Persian Empire, Marching East. With his home base totally secured through an iron fist, Alexander turns his eyes east to the ultimate David versus Goliath challenge. He is marching directly into the teeth of the greatest superpower the world had ever seen. Notice the stark contrast right here. On one side, you have Alexander's forces, roughly 40,000 chosen, fiercely loyal soldiers fueled by pure determination. On the other side, King Darius and the Persian Empire, millions of soldiers, boundless wealth, and this massive, entrenched empire. The stakes are seemingly impossible, but Alexander possesses this unyielding, almost fanatical resolve that numbers simply cannot quantify. Their first major clash happens at the Battle of Issus. Alexander brilliantly attacks the center of the Persian line, and get this, it causes King Darius to literally panic and flee the battlefield in fear. In his haste, Darius completely abandons his own royal family in the camp. They're captured. But instead of cruelty, Alexander treats them with shocking honor. He looks directly at Darius's mother and says, "I will treat you not as an enemy's mother, but as a queen." Wow. Even his greatest enemies were left in utter awe of his nobility.
Desperate to stop the bleeding, King Darius tries to negotiate. He sends a letter offering Alexander a massive deal. Let's split the world in half. You take the west, I'll take the east. Alexander's response? It is incredibly chilling and delivered with absolute finality. He refuses entirely, stating simply, there cannot be two kings under one sun. He wasn't there to share the world, guys. He was there to own the whole shebang.
The climax of this campaign goes down at the sweeping Battle of Gaugamela. Outnumbered once again, Alexander achieves ultimate victory through pure, unmatched tactical discipline. Darius flees a second time, but is tragically killed by his own retreating commanders who were hoping to win Alexander's favor. Big mistake. Alexander is utterly devastated by the dishonor of it all. He severely punishes the traitors and actually gives Darius a grand royal burial. From there, he marches straight into Egypt, is welcomed as a literal savior, gets crowned pharaoh, and personally designs the legendary city of Alexandria, envisioning this grand union of East and West.
Okay, let's dive into this next part. Section 4, the Indian Campaign. Into the unknown.
So Alexander is now pushing far into modern-day Pakistan and India. This is an entirely alien battlefield. We're talking strange rivers, dense jungles, harsh weather, and terrifying new weapons that his men have never, ever faced before. Here, he faces the formidable King Porus and his devastating war elephants. I mean, how do you beat a living, breathing tank that literally makes the ground shake? Alexander explicitly walks his army through a brilliant three-step tactical adaptation. Step 1, isolate the massive war elephants to break their terrifying charge. Step 2, use his blindingly fast cavalry to attack the enemy forces directly from the flanks. Step 3, lead the charge personally from the absolute front lines. When his soldiers saw him fighting right there amongst the enemy's spears, their morale exploded, and they fought with superhuman strength. After a grueling, incredibly bloody battle, King Porus is finally defeated, captured, and brought before Alexander. Bleeding and fiercely proud, Alexander asks him exactly how he wishes to be treated. Porus doesn't beg, he doesn't cower, he stands tall and delivers this phenomenal, defiant line. Treat me as one king treats another. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly who Alexander was. He wasn't just some ruthless warrior who wanted to burn everything down. He was an incredibly astute diplomat who recognized and truly respected greatness, even in his enemies. Because he knew true victory is winning hearts, Alexander does the unthinkable. He returns Porus's kingdom to him, actually expands its borders, and turns a fierce battlefield rival into a lifelong, intensely loyal ally. It's an absolute masterclass in leadership.
Section 5, a legacy cut short. The final march.
But, every fire, no matter how bright, eventually burns out. The invincible army finally halts at the banks of the Ganges River. And there is a profound irony to this moment in history. No enemy army, no towering wall, no massive empire could stop Alexander the Great. But the sheer exhaustion, the years of relentless marching, the endless battles, and the deep, deep homesickness of his own fiercely loyal men finally did. They just refused to march a single step further into the east. Alexander, realizing he had pushed human endurance to its absolute limit, finally agreed to turn around. Even on the long journey back, though, he was cementing his legacy. He married princesses from Persia, Afghanistan, and Central Asia. Notice the shift here. He wasn't just taking land by force anymore. He was actively merging empires through incredibly strategic diplomatic alliances. His vision had evolved. He wanted to permanently interlock the incredibly diverse cultures of the East and the West into one unified, shared humanity. And here is a mind-blowing, genuinely astonishing statistic that shows just how impactful those alliances actually were. Today, roughly 1% of the entire global population still carries Alexander the Great's DNA. 1%. Because of those strategic marriages and his immense footprint across continents, his genetic legacy literally lives on in millions of people walking the earth right now. That is just wild to think about. So the crucial point is when we look at this timeline, what really stands out is the terrifying breakneck speed of his life. At 12, he tames the wild horse. At 16, he finishes his brilliant tutoring under Aristotle. At 20, he is crowned king of Macedonia in the midst of total chaos. By 25, he's completely conquered the mighty Persian Empire. And then, at just 32 years old, having marched to the very edges of the known earth, he dies of a mysterious fever in Babylon, never getting to see his homeland again. It leaves us with history's absolute greatest what if. If a mysterious fever hadn't suddenly taken his life at the incredibly young age of 32, where would the borders of Alexander's map have ultimately ended? Would he have conquered Europe? Africa? We will never truly know. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this fascinating life. Keep questioning, keep learning, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next historical explainer. See you next time.